So more than 15,000 people have committed suicide in last 4 years in Marathwada. Let me ask you one question. What do you think? What should be the equation between the number of farmer suicide and lack in rainfall? Should it be proportional? Yeah, let me show you something. So this is the number of farmer suicide and this is the lack in potential. Absolutely no correlation, right? So when I started this film, working on this film, Marathwada was a big paradox for me. Let me try to explain this to you. Now, most of the Indian farmers, most of the Indians stay in villages. And among them, 70% of these rural people, they are totally dependent on agriculture. That means they're dependent on groundwater and rainwater. And more than 80% of these people, they owe a land which is less than 2 acres. Now, imagine you to be that farmer, okay, sitting in this room. You have a land exactly half of the size of this room, and you have 5 members in your family to feed. Groundwater is out of question, and there is no rain year after year. What will you do? Would you commit suicide? Or you migrate? You'll migrate, right? So more than 8 lakh people migrate from Marathwada to nearby cities every year. When it rains, they come back. It's a huge economic shift. When we visited there, we saw only a few old people, starving most of them, living in a hope that one day it would rain and their son and daughter will come back. So yes, migration is a very important point to understand that paradox. Now, it's a direct effect that if there is drought, people will migrate, right? But what happens to the people who are still living there, who left there or who are struggling there? So actually, it doesn't matter if there is rain or not. Marathwada is in the middle part of India, and which is basically known as a drought-prone, predominantly a drought-prone area. It has a laterite soil which can't hold the water, and it neither nor have the fertility. And thanks to the whimsicality of the climate, we don't have a proper distribution of rainfall nowadays. All we have is flash rain. And to capture those flash rain, we need a proper water management, which we don't have. So acute scarcity of water and the soil is of no use. So people have shifted from food crops to the cash crops. So the cash crops are mostly talking about sugarcane and cotton. Now, sugarcane, which needs gallons of water. The government of India have come out with a program called DPAP, Drought Prone Area Program in 1973. So it says that the areas which are mostly affected by drought will gain a lump sum amount of government grant. Okay. Now I'll be quoting Mr. P. Sayantan from his book. A very interesting thing he digged out that almost 73% of the sugarcane produced in Maharashtra has been done in these DPAP blocks. I'm talking about sugarcane which needs gallons of water. Lonavala having 1600 to 2000 millimeter of rainfall also falls under these DPAP blocks, along with Marathwada, which has 500 to 600 millimeter of rainfall. Now the average rainfall in India is 1000 millimeter per year. Now I think the sugarcane thing kind of understood. Now I'll be talking about the cotton thing. In 2002, Indian farmers were introduced to a smartly developed, genetically modified cotton or BT cotton. The idea was the farmers were told it would get better yield. Although the seeds are very expensive, it is genetically modified, but it is immune to pests. Now, over the years, the farmers have realized that the seeds are so intelligently designed that it loses their viability after 1 year. That means it loses its germination power after 1 year. That means the farmer has to buy new sets of seeds every year, unlike the Deshi Indian traditional cotton seeds. So the cost of the production is getting higher. Now, the cotton bollworms, the pests, okay, they have a life cycle of 30 days. That means in 1 year, it has 12 life cycles. Now, what does that mean? It means that they are adaptable to nature more than us. And now if you go to any BT cotton field, you will see that tons of pesticides are being used in these fields. Again, cost of the production is getting higher, okay? Now I'll be talking about the fertilizers. So to get more yield, people use fertilizers in the soil. And the soil has primarily macronutrients and micronutrients. When you contribute to a fertilizer in the soil, will contribute majorly the nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, not the micronutrients. So year after year, if we culture a single crop in a particular land, we'll be contributing to the amount of micronutrients will go down, and it will affect the yield. And to balance it, the farmers use more and more fertilizers every year. Now, they have to buy new sets of seeds every year. They have to use pesticides, and they are using fertilizers because they don't have the proper knowledge to treat the soil, to retain the micronutrients. So it's a totally wrong method of farming, and it is happening because there's a lack of education, which is again a very important point to understand the paradox. Now, when the farmer grows something in the land, they come to the market and they don't get the expected price. So it's our failure. The government of India has to acknowledge that it's their failure to intervene between the matters between the factory owners and the farmers to give the farmers the justifiable price. Whatever the government schemes like 1,000, 1,500 rupees per hectare per year, is it sufficient? What do you think? It is sufficient? No. According to the farmer, they told in my film that the other schemes, because they are not aware of, they are not informative, they are not smart enough, those schemes goes to the big landowners or the people who are close to the politicians. And at the end of the day, they fall in the trap of the private loan givers, and their compound interest, lose their lands, and eventually embrace death over life. So failure of government policies is a very important point to understand the farmer suicide, why it is happening. Now, government of Maharashtra banned the BT cotton in 2012 to promote Desi Indian cotton seeds, but they removed the ban in 2013 for some reason. And now it is hugely practiced in Maharashtra. In fact, Maharashtra leads the top in cotton farming, cotton growing. A new thing has come in the market is called HTBT cotton, or herbicide tolerant BT cotton. It is basically a package. You have to buy the HTBT seed and a herbicide called Roundup. So the herbicide is used to kill the unnecessary weeds which will compete with your crop in the farm. Now, this herbicide has a chemical component called glyphosate, which is basically known to be a poison. A prolonged use of glyphosate is basically you'll be injecting poison in a food chain. It is also believed to be carcinogenic. There are several cases reported in US, and scientists have also believed that the prolonged use of this glyphosate can develop a super weed, which can be catastrophic. So Indian government and like other European countries have banned the use of this HTBT cotton. The irony is half of the Indian farmers are pleading to the government that please remove the ban. If you go Several places in Maharashtra, it is hugely practiced nowadays. How to explain this situation? It's a totally wrong choice of crops. Wrong choice of crops leading to a massacre. Now, if we sum up, to understand that paradox, if we go back to that, uncorrelation, these are the necessary point which I understood. These are migration, lack of education, failure of government policies, and wrong crop selection. Now, isn't there any solution or alternative? Yes, there are alternatives. If you go to US, you will find that half of the sugar is being produced from sugar beets, not from sugar cane. And sugar beet needs exactly half of the amount of water. People in Bagalkot district in Maharashtra, they are shifted from sugar cane to soybean and tur. Why not food crops? Why only cash crops? Scientists, activists like Debal Dev, Dr. Debal Dev, he is practicing 10 to 12 different type of rice which are believed to be drought tolerant. According to him, more than 5,000 farmers at the present day, they are practicing it, including Maharashtrian farmers. These are the stories we need to spread. Let's talk about a case study. These are two villages, Hure Bazar and Ralegaon City. These are like 100 kilometers away from Marathwada. It also have similar kind of rainfall. But these are the villages, they have are self-sufficient villages. They don't care about government fund. They don't care about rainfall. They are self-sufficient model. Because they were united. When I visited there, I saw that they have artificial lakes, they have cultivation, they have plantation, they have solar power, they have natural gas, biogas from community toilet, they have seed banks, they have cooperatives, they have education, they have multiple schools. They were successful because they were united. And they believed in the fact that if we'll contribute to the village welfare together, in the long run, in 10 or 15 years, the good day will come. And it will come for sure. And it was easier for them to believe because they had great influencers and leaders like Anna Hazare or Popat Rao Pawar. Now, leaders like them are rare, okay? But it is always easier to believe when you have the power of knowledge and education. I say when you have language-based education in different parts of India, why can't we include a few pages of information about the soil treatment or how to retain these micronutrients or about organic farming in our school books in these particular areas? See, blaming the government won't work anymore. We have to move on. The only solution lies in the unity. And the unity is and believing in yourself. That is only possible when you believe in yourselves, in the community. And the belief will come when you have the power of knowledge and education and awareness to a right direction. Thank you.